Hello and welcome back to Music Theater Theory. Whoa! I am here in my brand new studio. It's the same studio as before, but I painted the walls and I have a standing desk now so I can move around. So I'm very, very excited. And to celebrate the new setup, I want to do one of my favorite songs from the entire musical theater canon today, What You Own from Rent. I was in Rent in high school. I played Mark Cohen. This was like my favorite song ever to sing, and that production meant a lot to me. And I'm a huge Rent head, so I don't care if you're not, I am. And we're talking about Rent today. So here is the sheet music that I have for it. It's like written for piano, basically only, even though obviously this song is very like heavy on the guitars and stuff. So the piano part that's written in is like... literally just one note. So obviously that's not what this song actually sounds like. So I'm going to play like some version of what the song actually sounds like. And I'm also only one person, so I'm not going to clone myself today. I'll just kind of sing the melody and take you through it. What I love about this song, okay, so it comes near the end of the show. It's like the 11 o'clock number where the protagonists sum up what they've learned in the course of the musical. That's the function of an 11 o'clock number in everything from Rose's Turn in Gypsy to No Good Deed and Wicked. Like that is our 11 o'clock number. And so this is an 11 o'clock number for both of our two kind of main protagonists, Mark and Roger. Arguably, because Rent is a very like ensemble show, but arguably Mark and Roger are the protagonists, and they both sing in this song what they've learned throughout the course of the show. It comes right after Angel, their friend, passes away from AIDS, and they have a funeral, and at the funeral all of the friends get into this huge fight, and there's a whole bunch of drama, and afterwards Mark kind of feels like he's selling out and betraying his friends and his passion by taking this job that he's taken. So he's tormented by all of these feelings that he's having, and he starts singing. He goes, "Don't breathe too deep, don't think all day, dive into work, drive the other way, that drip of hurt, that pint of shame." Ooh, and then this little bass thing here is really cool. It sounds like da da ba 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 da. So that obviously is written to be played on the bass, and what makes it work so well is that we're basically leading up just in semitones. Like you'll notice I'm playing just like the very next key on the piano every time, and we lead up in semitones to the bass note of the next chord. So it gives it that feeling of like rushing up to meet the chord. It builds a lot of anticipation, that chromatic, which means semitone by semitone ascension. Goes away, just play the game. I feel like this little figure has gotten stolen in like every contemporary musical. The like staccato on beat 1 and then the held accent on beat 2. This, like that feels very like Jason Robert Brown, right? The I don't even know what Jason Robert Brown song I just played. I feel like I kind of played a lot of Jason Robert Brown songs right there. No tea, no shade to Jason Robert Brown. I love Jason Robert Brown, but I kind of feel like that moment influenced him, maybe, because he kind of broke out as a composer right after Rent came out. Then we get the chorus. You're living in America at the end of the millennium. You're living in America. Leave your conscience at the tone. And when you're living in America at the end of the millennium, you're what you own. So we've got a lot going on there. First of all, we've got this crazy catchy hook. In America, which is just a banger. Part of what makes it a banger is it's the major triad. That's literally just the most basic triad in music, so it's super catchy because it uses like these very easy to understand notes. If you're from Toronto like me, you'll also know that sound because that's the sound that the subways make when they close their doors. They always go do 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 and then close the doors. Fun fact about Toronto for those who don't live in Toronto. Anyways, oops, sorry about that. We get You're Living in America at the end of the millennium. The other thing that makes that hook super catchy is the rhythm of it. This like dotted quarter note and then eighth note tied to a quarter note and then a quarter note. It's a way of splitting up a bar of 4 beats into 3 notes that feels very driving, and it's the same rhythm as like give me a second, I need to get my story straight. My friends are in the bathroom getting higher than the Empire State. And it's the same rhythm as like a lot of Pokemon battle music too. Like it's a classic rhythm that's been used for a long time to create excitement. It's also, I talk a lot about this rhythm actually in my videos about Don't Rain on My Parade, because it's also that same rhythm. So it's this really catchy rhythm that is tried and true and is known to produce a sense of anticipation and excitement, matched with this major triad descending, which is really easy to understand and remember, and that makes it really, really, really catchy. And then the other thing is the chord progression here. So we have, there's like some A2 written in, but we can ignore that for now. Basically, the chord progression is A, F sharp minor, E, D. Then it goes A, F sharp minor, F natural, G. So what is happening there? I always say like chord progressions tell a story, and this is very subjective, but the way that I hear this is, it's first of all, the first 4 chords are very similar to the heart and soul chords. Those 4 chords are A, F sharp minor, D, E. The What You Own chord progression is A, F sharp minor, E, D. So it's almost exactly the same as this like very well-known and like cheesy and romantic chord progression. The reason that I think the heart and soul chord progression is so popular is because of the story it tells. It starts with a major chord, right? And then it goes minor. And there's this feeling of like, oh, things were happy, but now they're not anymore. And then we have these 2 major chords that lead up to the major, like the root note, which is like the main home bass chord again. So we have like happy, kind of sad, and then, oh no, but these major chords lead up back to the happiness. So it's like, things were okay, now they're not, but things are gonna be okay again. Like there's just a very like, it wraps everything up in a nice little bow, and I feel like that's why it's such a like happy chord progression. This chord progression goes, things were okay, but now they're not, and then they keep falling down lower, right? They keep going bum, 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 instead of going up, leading up back to the first chord, like in the heart and soul chord progression, because they're flipped. And then we get this F and G, which is like, we're leading in the same way as the heart and soul chords do. The D and the E lead back to A. We're leading back to the A with F and G. The difference is that F and G, natural, do not appear in the key of A major. A major looks like this, with an F sharp and a G sharp. Do you know what has an F natural and a G natural? A minor. So we're leading back to that A major chord, but instead of doing it with chords that are in the major key, like heart and soul, we're doing it with chords that are from the minor key. And even though they are major chords themselves, that kind of takes a back seat to the fact that we're hearing these notes that are outside of the key signature, that are literally more minor than the key that we're in. So that makes it very like angsty and dramatic. And And then again here with that big hit on beat 2, like we heard before, the Jason Robert Brown thing. You're what you own. So that's actually the hook of the song, or the title anyways, is You're What You Own. And the title of the song is What You Own. But everyone thinks it's called like, oh, America or something, because America is such a catchy hook because of the rhythm and the melody. So now we get another verse, except for it's almost a perfect verse, chorus, bridge, chorus song structure, this song. Sometimes we'll have pop songs where there's a verse and then a chorus, and then the verse repeats and then the chorus repeats. Then we get a bridge, which is something different and new, and then the final chorus. And so this borrows from that song structure, which is very classic pop. However, it is not exactly the same melody here. Before we had, don't breathe too deep, don't think all day. Now we have the same chords and the same like kind of melody, but they're not exactly the same. The filmmaker cannot see, and the songwriter cannot hear. Yet I see me everywhere. Angel's voice is in my ear. But we still have the same chords with this, like, going back and forth between the A and the G like that. Just tighten those shoulders, just clench your jaw till you frown. Here's my favorite bass little lick again. Again with that chromatic scale leading up to the bass note on the next chord. Let go or you may drown. Again this, ba, ba, you're living in America. At the end of the millennium, you're living in America. And now we have a harmony where Roger sings the major triad as before, and Mark just sings the major triad, but starting on this note instead of that note. So instead of going, America, he sings, America. Where it's like the Twilight Zone, and there's that F chord and G, which sound very dramatic and minor, even though they are actually major chords. They are borrowing from the minor scale, and that's the important part. Then Roger has this big high note. And when you're living in America, at the end of the millennium, you're what you own. So I own not a notion. I escape and ape content. I don't own emotion. I rent. What was it about that night? So here there's a huge change. Remember how I said that in pop songs we often get a bridge where something very different is introduced and something changes? Well, here we go. Big change. We go from this like ba 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 ba, like 4 on the floor rock beat to this like almost like classical piano. It's very haunting, and obviously it's minor, so we're in F sharp minor instead of A major. Connection in an isolating age. Then we go into this key with 5 sharps, which is either B major or G sharp minor. Now, if you're a music nerd, you already know this, but like a quick catch up, any minor scale has a major scale that uses the exact same notes, and same as every major scale has a minor scale that uses the exact same notes. So for example, we were just in A major, which uses those F sharp, G sharp, and C sharps. And remember how I said there was A minor, which starts on A, but then doesn't use those sharps? Well, there's also a note that, a minor scale that does use those 3 sharp notes, but it just starts on a different note. So instead of starting on the A, we use the exact same notes, but we start on the F sharp, and we get F sharp minor. So that's relative minors and majors, use the exact same notes, just start on a different note to make it either major or minor. And here we have B major or G sharp minor, which both use those 5 sharps. So it's really kind of weird either way of a key change, because either we're going up a full tone from A major to B major, and then we're going to come back down to B flat major here. So A, B, B flat, or we're going from A down a semitone to G sharp minor, which is like a really kind of weird and scary change. Either way, it's a strange and noticeable change. So here, because we're getting so many G sharp minors, it seems right away like we're going into G sharp minor. So it feels like we're going maybe up a tone from F sharp minor into G sharp minor. We have, what was it about that night in F sharp minor, and then we go to, for once the shadows gave way to light in G sharp minor. So we've already gone up a tone. How are we going to go up even further at the end for this dramatic key change? Well, Mark calls Alexi and he goes, Alexi, Mark, call me a hypocrite. I need to finish my own film. I quit. And then at the exact same time as Mark quits his job, Roger has this big epiphany where he goes, I hear it, my song, Mimi, your eyes. And he decides he's going to write his one big song about Mimi's eyes. So we have both of our protagonists come to this huge game-changing realization and make this huge game-changing decision right at the same moment. And then we have this big key change. It changes to B flat major from B major. So it's kind of weird because it feels like, what the heck? Like, this is a big triumph for these characters that they've come to this realization. This is a big decision they've made. They're moving forward in their lives. They should be moving up in key, right? So why are they going from B major down to B flat major? Well, it's actually more like they're going from G sharp minor up to B flat major. So it's a really cool key change. We started in A major and we end up in B flat major, which is just a semitone up. It's the exact same key change that happens in Waving Through a Window, for example. Classic musical theater key change. But the way we get there is so much more dramatic because we go from A major to F sharp minor in the bridge, and then we go from F sharp minor up to G sharp minor, and then from G sharp minor up to B flat. So it takes us so much longer to get there because Jonathan Larson takes us through all of these different keys on our way to B flat, and that makes that semitone key change from A to B flat over the course of the song feel so much more powerful. We've gone on this huge journey over the course of this song, and now we get the big payoff. We're dying in America, dying in oops. What key am I in? There we go. Dying in America at the end of the millennium. We're dying in America to come into our own. And there's the G flat and A flat, which are now borrowing from B flat minor. So it's the same chords now up a semitone. But when you're dying in America, this has always puzzled me, this note here. On the original Broadway cast recording, Adam Pascal does not sing the high B flat there. He stays on the same note. When you're dying in America. In the movie, he does go up to the high B flat. Much like, sorry, I keep doing that. I don't know if you can see that when I change the windows on my computer. I'm still kind of new to OBS, so bear with me. I don't know if they, yeah, so he does it in the movie where he goes up to the high B flat in the same way that he went up to the high A here. Remember that high note? So now, because we're up a semitone, that note is also a semitone higher. So it's like this epic, epic, epic money note for Roger, which he didn't sing on the cast recording, and it's not written in here, but they did do it on the movie, and I think it's really interesting, and I think it's kind of a weird choice to have him go for the money note in an earlier chorus, and then after the big key change, have him not go for a money note. It just feels like we're losing momentum rather than building up to the end of the song. So I don't really know why that choice was made. It looks to me like it probably was just Adam Pascal in, 19 whenever just said, you know what, I don't want to sing a B flat 8 times a week here. So he didn't. But I think it does sound much, much better when the Roger does go up to that money note at the end. Otherwise, you're giving so much in the second chorus, and then it feels kind of anticlimactic when you don't go up to it in the final chorus. To come into our own, I'll show you what I mean. But when you're dying in America at the end of the millennium, you're not alone. I'm not alone. With key in my hand, there we go. I'm not alone. So we end with these big harmonies on the word I'm not alone, and like, come on, isn't that high B flat on America like so climactic? I just love singing that. When I was in Renton High School, I had to sing the high B flat because our Roger didn't want to sing it, which is fair because it's a tough note, but it's just so fun to sing this song. And there's something so triumphant about the way that it ends on that word, I'm not alone. Yeah. We take the journey from what you own in the first 2 choruses. And then in the last chorus, we don't say what you own again. We say, I'm not alone, because that's what actually matters. And that's what the characters have learned. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you here again next week. Oh, and if you want to sign up to my mailing list, I do a bunch of like updates and weekly song recommendations and stuff. You can do that at the link in the description. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week on Music Theater Theory. Whoa. See you soon.